Well, the first of the monsoon forecast is out, and we'll get into the nitty-gritties, but the larger point is that on balance, it seems to be a forecast which says that monsoons will be near normal this time around. There are some probabilities, a low probability of this being below normal as well, a higher probability than below normal is of an above normal monsoon, but net, the numbers seem to be stacked in favor of a near normal monsoon this time around. And boy, in a scenario like this, you don't want any disruptions on the monsoon part. Well, let's talk about the possibilities of any impact of this, and of course, what is his opinion on what's happened to the agrarian space in the period of the lockdown with Mr. Siraj Hussain. He's former Agriculture Secretary and Senior Fellow, ICREI, joins us right now on the show. Mr. Hussain, thanks so much for taking the time out. First, an initial comment. This was probably what was much needed because you don't want any disruptive forecasts or disruptions in what is arguably the most critical part aside of COVID-19. How do you read into these numbers?
No, this is a very good news because the sentiment would have been really bad if the forecast had predicted a deviation, a substantial deviation from monsoon. However, we must know that there is a margin of error in these forecasts, and in previous years, many a times the forecasts have not come through. But I think it is a good news, and I hope that the southern states where the monsoon comes first will prepare themselves very well in terms of agricultural implements, fertilizers, common service centers, seeds, etc., so that the farmers can sow the crops in time.
Mind you, viewers, this is the first stage long-range forecast for southwest monsoon season rainfall, and the report suggests, as I said, the high probability, 41% of a 2020 monsoon rainfall to be near normal in the year, and which is actually good news. Mr. Hussain, any thoughts on, any thoughts on what this does, if at all, to sowing and otherwise once we get out of this lockdown period? Because multiple reports that we had read before, when people took trips down the agrarian belts in the southern states ahead of coronavirus lockdown being implemented in the months of February, seemed to suggest that things looked good. Farm production was, farm activities were normal. Non-farm may have come off slightly, but because the Rabi output was good, that there was no shortage of food as well. How would the month of March impact the entire piece? And post the lockdown opening, what does this monsoon forecast, assuming that it all stays as we learning right now, would do?
See, as far as the union government is concerned, towards the end of March itself, 27th March, and then on 31st March, it had issued detailed guidelines that agricultural operations have to continue, including the operations of mandis. Unfortunately, in many states at the local level, these guidelines were not implemented, as a result of which the farmers in many places have to suffer distress sale. And the poultry farmers were undergoing a crisis even before COVID came. So that was further accentuated because of the lockdown. So I think by the time the monsoon comes, I'm hoping that labor availability would not be a major problem in southern states. And by that time, farmers will have everything they need for sowing of crops. So it's a very good news. But I think what is important for the farmer is what happens from now to the next 2-3 weeks. They should be able to harvest their crops. For example, I understand that the cashew farmers in Karnataka are not able to sell their product. Similarly, we have seen that fruits and vegetable farmers are not realizing the correct prices. So there are problems at various levels, and I hope today's clarification issued by Ministry of Home Affairs will be followed by the state government, and they will make agricultural operations with due precautions. They will implement it at the ground level.
I was about to ask you that, sir. Before I get back to a couple of questions on the monsoon forecast as well, what do you hear about what this period of the lockdown has done to specific areas or specific crops or whatever else you have found to be very, very important to share?
What has happened is that, generally speaking, in Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, and Rajasthan, where the harvesting is done earlier than Punjab and Haryana, that is in March, we found that in most of the places, despite a somewhat shortage of labor, harvesting was completed. And the farmers did not wait for the labor availability to improve. They used the local labor and the crops were harvested. In case of pulses, however, the prices have fallen to levels much below the MSP, and the procurement by method has not started. These states, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Gujarat, as a result of which, and Maharashtra, as a result of which the farmers doing pulses, mostly in rain-fed areas, have not been able to get good price. Now, as far as harvesting in Punjab and Haryana is concerned, and UP, it is starting now. And I am given to understand that the combined harvesters are available in plenty. The state governments have made very good arrangements for procurement. They have taken due precautions, provided facility for staggered procurement, etc. So I think that despite all the difficulties, the state governments are doing a good job and they will be able to procure. However, the farmers growing vegetables have suffered, the farmers of fruits have suffered. As I mentioned, the farmers of cashew in Karnataka are not able to sell. And milk farmers, the milk producers are realizing about 10 rupees a litre lower price. Poultry farmers have been in doldrums because in North India, despite Government of India's clear instructions, all the meat shops are closed, and therefore poultry farmers, the prices of live bird in the Delhi market, Ghazipur market are down from about 80 rupees a kilogram to about 35 rupees a kilogram. So poultry is in very, very bad shape. So the impact is varied on different sectors, but obviously it has hurt. Tomato farmers have also suffered.
There is one small point that I wanted your view on, sir. I think IMD said that the few other global climate models indicate a possibility of a development of a weak La Nina condition over the Pacific Ocean during the second half of the season. Again, these predictions might well go wrong, but would there be a significant bearing on our produce and our season if indeed the start is normal and we might see some bit of this condition developing in the second half? Any thoughts on that?
Actually, the months of August and September are very important. So in September, if the rainfall is less than normal, it would still not harm very much. But July and August are very critical. Last year, we saw very heavy rainfall in September, due to which the crops were damaged in Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. So, these are very rough, estimates depending on various models. So, we should not imagine that they are going to be 100% accurate, but I think it is a very good news which has come out of IMD today.
Yeah, well, I think that sums it up because frankly, this is so soon, so much earlier that we don't quite know how it will shape up. But Mr. Hussain, thank you so much for your time, for giving us this initial update as well. It was important to get you. Thank you for your time. And viewers, keep in mind, there's just, before we wrap up, there's this one note that I was reading from Spark Capital. They had done a agrarian belt ears on the ground trip, and they mentioned the coronavirus impact related points, wherein they mentioned that people in rural India had shown full awareness, preparedness, and the cooperation on the issue. They were keeping track of people, and farm activities had stayed okay, even though non-farm activities would have gone down. And Manrega payments getting transferred might also help farmers avoid the cash crunch. So from the agrarian side, hopefully, once the lockdown opens up, things will not look all that bad. The good news is that monsoons, at least the first forecast, seems to be near normal. Thanks so much for tuning into this broadcast.
The union to secure your future is here.